Greetings all, Joel here with a brand new album rankings episode. Feel free to leave a comment, share this video, as well as all my others on my playlist on this channel. Smash the like button, subscribe to my channel, and click on the notification bell whenever a new video comes out. This week, I ranked the studio discography of Def Leppard, a band that was formed in Sheffield, England on my birth year in the year 1977. They, along with Iron Maiden, who I endorse as the big two bands that came from the new wave of British heavy metal scene in the late 70s, early 80s. Def Leppard has released 13 albums, one of them being a collection of stuff recorded during a 10-year period, and another filled with cover songs from the 70s. Def Leppard were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2019 and sold more than 100 million copies worldwide, with two of its albums, Pyromania and Hysteria, receiving diamond status. They continue to tour in front of large crowds, leaving behind a legacy that's still going strong after 45 years. Let the ranking from worst to best begin. Number 13, X, 2002. Released in July of that year, I had very high hopes of this record. I really did. Similar to Queensryche's Tribe album released a year later, when I did an episode on Queensryche 2 weeks ago, I was very disappointed that this turned out to be their weakest effort. Despite the fact that Marty Fredrickson, who the year before produced Aerosmith's last great album, Just Push Play, X, just like Slang, was a departure of their signature sound that fans were invested in for a very long time. They moved into that adult pop shit, but I will say this though, they had some good songs like Now, Every Day, and You're So Beautiful, but the strongest song on that record is Long, Long Way to Go. Why wasn't it such a big hit? I have no fucking idea. The rest of the album really didn't have any redeeming qualities at all. Number 12, Diamond Star Halos 2022. What was so special about Def Leppard's most recent album anyway? This album to them was a callback to glam's glory days, as well as their own past triumphs. The record was way too generic and slightly country-based and very American soft rock than the British hard rock of decades past they were known for. Although I will give them credit for trying their hand at crossing over to that countryside with Alison Krauss on songs like This Guitar and Lifeless. While I praise songs like Take What You Want and Fire It Up as the only tracks that stood out for me, Diamond Star Halos reached number 10 on the Billboard 200, number 2 on the Top Rock Albums charts, number 5 in the UK, and reached number 1 on their rock and metal charts. Number 11, On Through the Night, 1980. This was the record that started it all for Def Leppard. Produced by Tom Allom, best known for producing albums for Judas Priest, On Through the Night would later go gold in November of 83, and then platinum in May of 89. Hello America, Wasted, and Rock Brigade are the standout tracks. On Through the Night was scratching the surface. They wouldn't be more polished until the next record, where they would work with a producer best known for producing AC/DC's Back in Black. Number 10, Yeah, 2006. This one is full of cover songs I mentioned at the top of this video. Yeah had actually kickstarted their comeback, regaining popularity and even gaining a new generation of fans, as it reached number 16 on the Billboard 200. It also reached number 52 on the UK album charts. Despite that, I admire their cover of the Badfinger song, No Matter What You Do, and their rendition of Rock On, which was originally performed by David SX, and then later covered by one-hit wonder Michael Damian in 1989, for the soundtrack to the movie Dream a Little Dream. Number 9, Slang 1996. Released in May of that year, Slang saw a departure from their classic sound, but unlike X, this album has some redeeming qualities, as it's the first to feature Vivian Campbell contributing on the song Work It Out, while singer Joe Elliott and guitarist Phil Collin penned most of the songs on the album, like All I Want Is Everything, Blood Red's Cold, Where Does Love Go When It Dies, and the title track. In the near 30 years after its release, it's one of the most polarizing albums off Def Leppard's catalog, pushing the boundaries and experimenting to more alternative rock and the industrial sound. As of this recording, it's a gold-selling record for them here in the United States. Number 8, Songs from the Sparkle Lounge 2008. This was a much better studio outing than X. It was much more tight, unified production, and the band was riding high with a new wave of momentum and popularity at this point. Songs from the Sparkle Lounge became Def Leppard's first top 5 album in the US since Adrenalize. And songs like Come On, Come On and 9 Lives featuring Tim McGraw was helpful enough to make this one 10 times better than X. Number 7, Euphoria, 1999. Released in June of that year, Euphoria saw Def Leppard return to their signature sound, which made them popular in the 80s, thanks to Promises, which became a hit song on the mainstream rock tracks in the US, along with Goodbye, written by bassist Rick Savage, Paper Sun, It's Only Love, To Be Alive, and Guilty. This was another gold-selling album for Def Leppard in the US. Euphoria also reached number 11 in both the US and the UK album charts. Number 6, Def Leppard 2015. Released on October 30th of that year, their self-titled record reached number 1 on Billboard's Top Hard Rock Album, Top Rock Album, and US Independent Album charts, while reaching number 10 on the main Billboard 200 charts. It also reached number 1 on the UK Rock and Metal charts, number 2 on the UK Independent Album charts, and reached number 11 on the main UK album charts. I praised the standout singles like Let's Go, Dangerous, and We Belong. I believe that this was their strongest effort since Hysteria and Adrenalize combined. Number 5, Retroactive 1993. Now this one is a record filled with B-sides and unreleased material from the band's recording sessions from 1984 to 1993. The album reached number 9 on Billboard 200 and number 6 in the UK. A nice little treat for fans like myself, which gave them closure to the Steve Clark era after his untimely death in 1991. Two Steps Behind and Miss You in a Heartbeat were hits coming out of that record. However, I do like the electric version of Miss You in a Heartbeat better than the vinyl version, along with Two Steps Behind, From the Inside, Desert Song, and She's Too Tough. Number 4, High and Dry 1981. Released in July of 81, High and Dry was produced by Robert John Mutt Lange, the same guy that produced AC/DC's Back in Black the year prior. This album was where Def Leppard got schooled by the famous producer, originally landing in the top 40 in the US album charts and the top 30 in the UK album charts, thanks to the power ballad Bringing On a Heartbreak, as well as Mirror Mirror Look Into My Eyes, Let It Go, and High and Dry Saturday Night. Def Leppard's sophomore effort reached double platinum status in America alone, but you can really tell by listening to this album one time that whatever Mutt was teaching them, Joe and the gang were learning. Number 3, Adrenalize 1992. Released on March 31st of that year, I remember purchasing this album the day it came out because it's the first record they put out after the passing of Steve Clark, and Joe, Phil, Sav, and drummer Rick Allen soldiered on as a 4-piece when this was made, even using Steve's demos and fixed them up, which led to Def Leppard's second number 1 album in both the US and the UK. Thanks to hits like Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad, Stand Up, Kick Love and Emotion, Let's Get Rocked, and gems like I Wanna Touch You, White Lightning, and Heaven Is. I still hold this record near and dear to this very day. Number 2, Pyromania 1983. The first of 2 diamond-selling albums Def Leppard ever created. Released in January of 83, it shot up to number 2 on the Billboard 200, made it to the top 20 in their home country thanks to hits like Photograph, Foolin', Rock of Ages, and Too Late for Love. I ranked this album number 1 when I done an album rankings episode of the best albums of 1983 list over a year ago. But if you think Pyromania is their best, wait till you see number 1. Number 1, Hysteria 1987. Released in August of 87, it was a curse and a blessing of a record to make. The curse part was that there were delays and the fact that Rick Allen lost his arm in a car accident at the tail end of 84. That had to be the most expensive record to ever make in the UK. But here's the blessing part. Nearly a year after its release, the album sold like crazy thanks to the hit single Pour Some Sugar on Me, and their only #1 hit single in America, Love Bites, along with Women, Animal, Hysteria, Armageddon It, and Rocket. It went to #1 on the Billboard 200 and in the UK. This album is still Def Leppard's biggest selling album to date. Something they may never ever want to try and top again, even if they tried. This quick recap gives you an idea of what my thoughts are on X being their worst album. And even though Diamond Star Halos is still their most recent record, nothing screams excitement for me on that one. Slang had more redeeming qualities than X, but I did not like the musical direction they were going in. The Sparkle Lounge album saw a resurgence in popularity. Euphoria was a nice little record, having returned to their signature sound, which made them arena rock heroes to begin with. I thought their 2015 record was their best effort since Hysteria. But the classic 3 of Adrenalize, Pyromania, and Hysteria remain Def Leppard's 3 best albums they ever put out. And I dare say again about Hysteria, even if they tried to top that album, it would be impossible.